The streets were cold. The wind blew dust across broken tiles and trash. The sun was hidden behind the thick clouds of pollution. It was not a kind day, and not a kind city. Seraya, a thin alien woman with pale purple skin and glowing blue eyes, held her child close in a worn gray wrap. The baby was silent now, tired from crying, hungry, cold, weak. Seraya walked slowly, her feet bare. Her legs shook, but she didn't stop. She went from one store to another, her voice shaking every time she spoke. "Please, I'm looking for work," she whispered at a fruit stall. The alien behind the counter looked her up and down. He frowned. "Widow? With a baby? No thanks. Go beg somewhere else." He didn't even look at her again. She bowed slightly. "I can clean, cook, anything." He waved his hand like she was an insect. "Leave before I call patrol." She walked away quietly. The next place was a tool shop, a bright place with loud machines inside. She tried again. "Please, I just need a job. I can sweep. I learn. Fast." The worker laughed. "You're cursed like all widows. No one wants you here." Another slammed the door before she could even speak. Seraya felt her knees grow weak. She leaned against the wall, breathing hard. Her child stirred in the wrap. She kissed the baby's forehead and wiped her own tears. "No, just a little more," she whispered. She reached a small food stand. The smell of cooked noodles made her mouth water. Her stomach twisted. But she wasn't here to eat. She was here to beg for work. Again. She bowed low to the woman at the stand. "I don't need money," Seraya said quickly. "Just food for work. Please. My child, he hasn't eaten." The woman looked at her. Then at the baby. Her face turned cold. Should have thought of that before breeding. Seraya's heart broke again. But she said nothing. She just turned and walked away. All around her, people passed by. No one looked at her. No one cared. She sat down on the side of the street near a broken lamppost. The baby made a soft sound. She tried to smile at him. Her lips trembled. Then she heard footsteps. Across the street, a man had stopped. He was human. His name was Reed, and he owned a small repair shop nearby. He had seen her all morning, going door to door, always the same result. He had seen the way people treated her, like trash. Reed had lived on this planet for 3 years. He had seen many aliens, but something about this woman made him stop. Her face was tired, her skin thin. But her eyes, they were still strong. He watched her from across the road. Her baby cried softly again. She pulled the wrap closer, her hand shaking. Reed crossed the street. Seraya looked up, surprised. She saw boots, then pants, then a jacket, and a kind face. He knelt down and spoke softly. "You okay?" he asked. She didn't answer. He reached into his bag and pulled out a small juice box. "For your little one," he said. She hesitated, then slowly took it. She pushed the straw into the box and helped her baby drink. The child sucked slowly, then faster. His small hands clung to her fingers. A tear rolled down Seraya's cheek. Reed waited, quiet. After a minute, he spoke again. "You looking for work?" Her eyes widened. She nodded. "Yes. Yes, please. I run a repair shop. Not much, but I could use help cleaning." She stared at him like he had spoken magic. "You would hire me?" He nodded. "Why not?" "I'm a widow." "So?" "I have a child." Reed smiled. "I can see that." She looked away. "People say we are cursed. I say people are full of crap." Seraya looked at him again, as if seeing a strange light in the darkness. "Come," Reed said, standing up. "It's not fancy, but I've got work and heat and food." She didn't move at first. Then slowly, carefully she stood. Her legs were shaking, but she followed him. For the first time in weeks, someone had not slammed the door. Someone had opened it. The inside of the shop was small, warm, and full of strange tools. Old wires hung from shelves. Machines buzzed softly. A heater in the corner hummed. Seraya stepped inside slowly. Her feet left small marks on the dusty floor. Her child peeked out from the wrap and looked around with wide, tired eyes. Reed closed the door behind her. "You can sit here," he said, pointing to a small bench near the wall. "I'll make something hot." Seraya nodded, but said nothing. She sat down carefully, still holding the child close. The bench creaked under her, but it was the softest thing she had touched in days. Reed moved around the back, opening a tin, pouring water into a pot. The smell of warm broth filled the room. It wasn't much, but to Seraya it was more than a feast. He returned with a steaming cup. She took it with both hands. Her fingers were trembling. The first sip made her eyes water. For a few moments, silence filled the room. Just the heater, the quiet baby, and the faint sound of rain outside. Then Reed asked softly, "What's your name?" Seraya looked up quickly. Her face changed. Fear, like someone had hit her. She pulled the child closer and looked away. Her lips didn't move. Reed didn't press her. He waited. After a long pause, she whispered, "Seraya." She looked at him, unsure, like she had just said something dangerous. Reed smiled gently. "Seraya, that's a strong name." She blinked, confused. He wasn't laughing. He wasn't mocking. He meant it. Back on her homeworld, names were power. When her husband died, the village elders stripped her name in public, called her Empty One, said she carried death and bad luck. Even her own sister stopped calling her Seraya. For so long she had heard that name only in her mind, never from a kind voice. Now this human had said it, like it was something beautiful. She stared at her cup, trying to keep the tears from falling. Reed began clearing space on the counter. "You said you could clean?" She nodded slowly. "Yes, I can also sort. Fix cloth, carry small loads." "Good," he said. "You'll start by helping out around the shop. Just light stuff." She stood up quickly. "I will work hard, I won't cause trouble." "I believe you." She looked at him again. "Why are you helping me?" Reed paused. He didn't answer right away, then he said, "Because no one helped my mother either. Long time ago." Seraya didn't ask more. She understood. Pain, recognized pain. That night, as the lights outside flickered, Seraya scrubbed the front windows. Her child slept beside the heater. Reed worked on a broken battery unit in the corner. A few customers passed by. One alien woman stared inside and frowned. Another whispered something outside the door and walked away fast. Seraya saw all of it. She sighed. "They don't like this." Reed didn't look up. "They don't have to. They think I will bring bad things. Let them think. I believe in what I see." She nodded. But deep inside, worry still lived. Not for herself, but for him. She had seen how cruel people could be. After dinner, Reed handed her a folded blanket and a pillow. "You and your kid can sleep here if you want. I got a cot in the back. It's not much, but it's safe." Seraya stared at the blanket like it was made of gold. "No one has ever given me this." He chuckled. "It's just a blanket." "To you, maybe," she said. "To me, it's hope." She laid the baby down gently. His small fingers reached out and touched her face. That night, under the dim light of a buzzing bulb, Seraya whispered to her son, "The human said my name today." And he smiled. Morning light peeked through the cracks in the shop windows. The world outside was still cold and unkind, but inside the small repair shop, something had changed. The heater buzzed softly. The smell of warm bread filled the air. And on the floor, wrapped in a thick blanket, Seraya slept with her child in her arms. Reed stood quietly nearby, holding a small bag of supplies. He had left early before sunrise and returned with food, cloth diapers, and second-hand baby toys. He placed the items gently near her bed and walked to the workbench. But as he moved, the baby stirred. A soft, sleepy sound came from the bundle. The child opened his eyes, big, bright, and curious. He stared at the human. Reed smiled. "Hey there, little guy," he whispered. The child blinked, then made a tiny sound like a question. Reed looked around and grabbed a shiny little tool from the bench. He crouched beside the child and wiggled it in front of him. "See this? It's not food, but it's fun." The baby grabbed at it. Then, something unexpected happened. He laughed. A soft, giggling, joyful sound filled the quiet room. It was short, but full of life. Seraya woke with a jolt. She sat up, confused. Then she saw Reed kneeling beside her son holding a small tool, smiling. Her son was laughing. Laughing. Not coughing. Not crying. Not shaking. Laughing. Her hand flew to her mouth. Her heart pounded in her chest. That sound. She hadn't heard it in weeks. She blinked fast, trying not to cry. He laughed, she whispered. Reed looked over. Yeah, he likes shiny things. She reached out and picked up her child, holding him close. The baby was still giggling, reaching back toward Reed. He hasn't laughed since before my husband died. Reed stood slowly. He's strong, like his mom. Seraya looked at him, unsure how to respond. Her mouth opened, but no words came out. Reed cleared his throat. I got you some things. Food, some baby stuff, nothing fancy. She looked at the bag he had placed beside her. Her eyes widened. She picked up the soft cloth, touched the clean diaper. These are... She started, but her voice broke. I thought you might need them, he said simply. Seraya looked down. No one has ever done this much for me, she said. Not even people from my own kind. Reed scratched the back of his neck. Guess that makes me the strange one. No, she whispered. That makes you the kind one. Later that day, Seraya began helping around the shop. She moved quietly, sweeping the corners, wiping dust from shelves. She learned fast, watched how Reed fixed small devices. She even asked questions. Reed was surprised. She wasn't just trying to survive. She was trying to belong. Customers came in and out. Some gave strange looks. Some whispered when they saw Seraya. One alien man frowned and asked Reed, "Why's that widow touching the tools?" Reed looked at him and said, "Because she works here now." The man grunted and left. Seraya overheard. She didn't speak, but her fingers tightened on the cloth she was folding. Later she looked at Reed. You don't have to defend me. Yes, I do, he said. If I hired you, I protect you too. She didn't argue, but she never forgot those words. That night, as the shop closed, Seraya gave her child a piece of soft bread Reed had saved. The baby made happy noises, chewing slowly. He looked stronger already. Seraya sat beside Reed near the heater. The baby played with a broken wire spool on the floor. I don't know how to thank you, she said quietly. You don't have to, Reed replied. Just keep showing up. That's enough. She smiled. A soft, tired smile, but a real one. I didn't think humans were kind, she admitted. Not all are, Reed said, but I try. Seraya looked at her baby, now lying on his back, giggling again. For the first time in a long time, she didn't feel like a ghost. She felt seen. She felt safe, and her child was finally laughing again. It started with whispers. At first, Seraya didn't hear them. She was too busy working, sweeping floors, wiping shelves, sorting wires. She had learned the name of every tool Reed used. She wanted to be useful, not just grateful. But others noticed her. Not in a good way. A few aliens in the market stared every time she stepped outside. One hissed softly under his breath when she passed. She should not be working with a human. She carries death. She'll bring ruin to his shop. Seraya kept her head low. She didn't answer. But inside, her fear began to grow. Reed noticed the change in the air too. Customers came less often. Some who used to greet him warmly now crossed the street without a word. A few came in, saw Seraya working behind the counter, and walked right back out. He didn't say anything to her at first. He didn't want her to worry. But the warnings came quickly. One morning, a sharp knock on the shop door echoed through the walls. Reed opened it. 3 aliens stood there. Their skin was dark gray. Their robes carried the mark of the Merchant Guild. Powerful people in that part of town. One of them stepped forward. "You are Reed. The human." "That's me." "You hired her," he said, pointing through the window where Seraya was feeding her child. "Yes," Reed replied calmly. "She works here. She's cursed. Her kind bring bad luck. Business is already down." Reed folded his arms. "She's good at what she does." The alien narrowed his eyes. "This is your warning. Let her go, or your shop may not survive the month." He didn't shout. He didn't threaten with fists. He simply turned and walked away, but his words were cold enough to freeze blood. That night, Seraya found Reed sitting at the counter, staring at the broken heater he was supposed to fix. But he wasn't working. He was thinking. She stepped forward, hands shaking. I heard them. Reed didn't speak. "I'll go," she said quickly. "I'll leave tonight. You've already helped me more than anyone ever did. You don't need to suffer because of me." He finally looked up. His face was calm, but his eyes were tired. "No," he said. "You stay. But your shop, I'd rather lose a shop than my soul." Her mouth opened, but she said nothing. "I didn't take you in for business," Reed continued. "I took you in because it was right." A tear slid down Seraya's cheek. "You'll lose everything. Then I'll build again." The next day, someone smashed the front window. Reed heard the crash and ran outside. A rock lay on the floor. Tied to it was a note written in sharp, angry lines. "Get rid of her, or we burn it all." He held the paper in his hand for a long time. Seraya saw it. Her heart sank. Reed taped the note to the wall beside the counter for all to see. He didn't hide it. He didn't show fear. He looked Seraya in the eye. "They want me to fire you, but you're not going anywhere." That evening, he placed a small sign outside his door. "All are welcome. Hate is not." Later that night, a soft knock came on the door. It was an old alien woman. She stepped inside slowly and looked at Seraya. "You are the one they speak about?" Seraya stood still, ready for more hate. But the old woman reached into her bag and pulled out a small gift, some dried fruit wrapped in cloth. "My daughter used to work before the war," the old woman said. "I remember what it feels like to be ignored. You are brave." She placed the fruit in Seraya's hands and left without another word. Seraya sat down, trembling. Reed smiled from the counter. "Not everyone wants to burn us," he said softly. But they both knew. The worst might still come. And yet, for the first time, Seraya didn't run. She stayed. Because someone had finally stood for her, and now she would stand too. The night was too quiet. Seraya felt it first. A stillness in the air. Her child had fallen asleep early. Even the heater's hum felt distant. Reed sat by the counter, tightening bolts on a small generator, but he kept glancing at the door. His hands moved, but his eyes didn't trust the silence. Then came the sound, a single rock tapping the window. Then, another. Then the shatter of glass. Reed jumped to his feet. Seraya rushed to grab her child. Outside, shadows moved. Torchlight flickered. Angry voices rose. The mob had come. 10. Maybe 12 aliens stood outside. Faces covered, eyes glowing in the dark. One shouted, "Throw her out!" Another, "She brings sickness. Business is dying because of her. She's cursed. Remove the widow or we burn the shop." Reed unlocked the front door and stepped outside. Seraya watched from behind a shelf, holding her baby tight against her chest. Her heart raced. Her whole body trembled, but Reed didn't shake. He stood tall, in front of the door. In front of her. In front of his shop. Go home, he said loudly. They didn't move. You were warned, the leader of the group hissed. We don't want violence, but we will do what's needed. She's a stain. Her kind brings death. She's a worker. She brings life back into this place, Reed said, his voice strong. A figure stepped forward with a burning torch. Reed didn't move. He spread his arms wide. If you want to burn something, burn me first. Behind him, Seraya covered her child's ears. Tears ran down her cheeks, but not from fear this time. No one had ever stood between her and danger. No one had ever said, burn me first. Her body shook, but her heart burned with something new. Fire, not fear. Then came another sound. Footsteps. Not from the mob, but from the side. An old alien woman walked out of the alley. The same one who had visited days ago. She shouted, Leave. Him alone, the mob turned. He fixed my son's medical pod for free, she cried. And that girl, she pointed at Seraya, she helped me carry water when no one else did. More footsteps, a vendor from across the street, a metal worker, a young alien with broken shoes. One by one, others came. Not many, but enough. We stand with them, someone said. The mob shifted, unsure. The fire in their hands didn't feel so hot anymore. Reed didn't say anything. He just stood there, still between Seraya and the hate. After a long pause, the leader of the mob growled, dropped his torch to the ground and spat. The broken window stayed shattered for days. Reed didn't fix it. He said, Let them see inside. Let them see we're still standing. And they did. Every morning, Seraya swept glass from the front step. She didn't cry anymore. She didn't flinch at whispers. Something inside her had changed. She wasn't a beggar now, she was a worker. She was a mother. And she was part of something. She began showing up earlier than Reed. Before the sun rose, she had already cleaned the benches, arranged the tools and made tea. The baby stayed wrapped to her back, sleeping peacefully while she worked. Customers returned, slowly, one by one. Not all of them were kind. Some didn't speak. Some still gave her strange looks. But they came. Because the shop worked better now. Because Seraya made it better. She taught herself how to repair small cables, watched how Reed welded pieces together. He caught her trying to fix a power cell once and laughed. You trying to steal my job? She smiled. A real smile. Maybe. He gave her a set of gloves and goggles. Then let's see what you can do. Her hands were small but steady. Her eyes sharp. Her patience endless. In just weeks, she was doing more than cleaning. She was helping with repairs, taking notes, talking to customers in soft, careful words. Even the baby seemed stronger now, sitting up, playing, smiling at the customers who dared look close. Reed stood behind the counter one afternoon, arms crossed, watching Seraya as she reassembled a solar adapter. You're a natural, he said. No, she replied, tightening a bolt. I'm just desperate. Same thing. He smiled. She looked up. Her hands paused. I work like my life depends on it, she said. Because it does. Reed nodded. And it's saving more than just yours. She didn't understand. At first, but she would. One evening, a child from the neighborhood came running in crying. His small robot had broken. Seraya knelt down and took it gently from his hands. She opened the back, looked at the wires, then pulled a small tool from her apron. The boy watched, eyes wide. In 5 minutes, the robot's lights blinked again. The boy gasped. You fixed him! She smiled and handed it back. The boy ran out, laughing, shouting to his friends. Minutes later, 3 more children came with broken toys. Reed looked at her. She shrugged. I guess I'm good with tiny things, he laughed. You're good with everything. That night, as she fed her son near the heater, Seraya looked around the shop. It wasn't broken anymore. It was alive, warm, full, and she was part of it. I used to pray for food, she said softly to Reed. Now I pray for more work. Reed sat beside her on the floor, fixing a busted lamp. You're not just surviving now, Seraya. What am I doing then? He looked at her. You're building a future. In the silence that followed, her son reached for Reed's tool and babbled happily. Then came a soft word from the child's mouth. Pa. Seraya froze. She looked at her baby, then at Reed. Did he just say? Reed blinked. Was that? The baby smiled again. Papa. Seraya covered her mouth. Tears filled her eyes. She didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Reed didn't speak. He just smiled, a little unsure, a little stunned. The word hung in the air like a promise, like a door opening, not just to kindness, but to family. Months passed. The seasons changed, but the shop stood strong. The broken window had been replaced. The walls were painted clean, white. A small flower pot now sat at the front step, Seraya's idea. It was simple but full of color. It gave the shop life. Customers now smiled when they saw her. Some brought small gifts for her child. Others asked for her by name. She wasn't the widow anymore. She was Seraya, and she was no longer afraid to say her name out loud. The sign on the front door had been updated. No longer just Reed's, repairs. Now it read, Seraya and Reed Repairs, honest work, open hearts. She cried the day Reed put it up. He only smiled and said, You earned it. But deep down, she knew he didn't just mean the job. He meant her place in this world. Her child, now walking and speaking in short words, ran around the shop like he owned the place. Customers laughed. One even said, This kid's gonna be the boss one day. Seraya laughed too. She laughed more now. Not because life was easy, but because she wasn't alone. One quiet afternoon, the guild inspector returned, the same alien, who had once warned Reed to fire her. He stepped inside, arms crossed, eyes scanning the shop. Seraya froze, but Reed stood tall. Anything you need? He asked. The inspector looked around. The shop was clean, busy, full of customers. The books were organized. Repairs were perfect. And Seraya? She stood behind the counter, confident, calm, and wearing a tool belt. The inspector didn't speak for a long time. Then he said, Looks like she saved your business. Reed smiled. She did. Without another word, the inspector left, and Seraya exhaled. Victory wasn't always loud. Sometimes it was silent and complete. That night, Seraya sat outside the shop with Reed, watching her son chase fireflies under the street lamp. The stars above blinked quietly. Do you ever miss Earth? She asked. Reed shrugged. Sometimes. But I think I found something better. She looked at him. What? He turned his eyes to her. You. She blinked. He wasn't joking. He meant it. And in her heart, something opened that had been locked for years. Not survival. Not fear. But something gentler. Hope. Her son came running, climbed into Reed's lap, and rested there like it was home. Papa, he mumbled sleepily. Seraya smiled and brushed her child's hair. I used to think my life ended when I lost my husband, she whispered. Reed looked at her. And now? Now I know. It was just the beginning. The lights in the shop flickered off for the night, but inside, 3 hearts beat quietly as one. Not strangers, not outcasts, not just survivors, but family. Real, strange, beautiful family. The kind you don't find, the kind you build. One small brave moment at a time.